Hello everyone and welcome back to PropWay. It's been a little while since I've done a tutorial here, but I am back with a fun, simple one. We're going to be making these wearable thing slides inspired by the thing from Fantastic Four. I think it's a pretty simple build and I made them out of foam. You're going to need a few specific thicknesses of foam, so make sure to check the description for a list of materials that I used. And in the description you'll also find a link to the template that I made to make these slides. And before we get started, I just want to be clear, I don't really recommend wearing these slides outside. They're more for like inside the house, kind of like a novelty item. Depending on how strong you build yours, you may be able to use them outside. But mostly, I built these for fun. You should do the same. So without further ado, let's get started. I started with tracing out my own foot in order to get the right size, and I'm doing this on 5mm EVA foam. You guys actually don't have to do this step because the template will have that shape already drawn out for you. Now that I have this shape, I'm going to trace it out on some 1/2 inch thick foam floor mat. And I like this because it has this texture on the bottom which will provide a little bit of traction, cement to glue those pieces together. Now for this type of build, I would definitely recommend contact cement because it's strong and flexible, which is perfect for foam. And if you're building something like shoes that's going to see a lot more wear and stress than a display prop, contact cement just holds up much better. And when using contact cement, you want to make sure you use it on both surfaces that you'll be joining and give it a minute or so to dry before you do join those pieces. So now that we have those pieces together, I built a second set obviously for my other foot, and you can see that I changed up the shape a little bit to be more square around the toes. So we'll fix that on the other side too, but the template will already show the square shape, so you'll be fine. Next is going to be this front piece, which will be the front of the toes. And you can see I'm cutting out the edges at an inwards angle. This will be helpful later when we glue another piece to it. So again, using contact cement, we just connect that right at the front, and you should have something like this right now. So moving on, I started shaping the top of the slides, which really make this thing an actual slide. I came up with this shape here, also in the template of course, and you want to again cut at an inward angle on the front and side edges. And then this just gets glued along those edges, just like this. I like to just press everything together nice and tightly to make sure the glue seams are holding as strong as possible. Now the last bit of foam work will be this piece here, and this just wraps around the back like this. And that completes the foam work of this build, and you should have a fully formed slide right now just without all the thing details. And really, you can just paint the entire slide at this point and draw on the details. But to add a little more depth, I wanted to try a couple methods. To make the toes, I tried using a soldering iron to engrave those lines in between the toes. It really didn't work too well and left sort of a bumpy texture, but maybe that's just me being impatient. So I ended up just taking my X-Acto knife and carved out sort of a V-shaped groove, and then I just peeled out that little strip. If you do this, you want to make sure you're not cutting all the way through the foam. You really only want to go about halfway through. I would practice on a scrap piece first if you're not comfortable with this. Then I just drew out some random rock patterns on the entire piece with a silver Sharpie. And using the same method for the toes, I'm carving out all those lines in that same V-shaped groove, and then I just peel out those strips, and you're left with a really nice textured look. It's actually really satisfying, and once you get the hang of it, it's a pretty fun process, but just make sure to take your time with it. And now we can finally paint the slides. I used a mixture of orange and brown acrylic paint, and I brushed it on everything except the bottoms. You want to make sure you let the paint completely dry in between each layer, and it took about 3 layers for this to get a nice solid color. And I also colored in the lines between the toes with a black marker just to make it a bit more obvious. Now for a little extra detail, I took this sponge and applied different shades of orange and brown, and I just dabbed it on the entire surface. This just gives it a little more of a natural rocky look, but if you prefer a solid orange color, that's cool too. Now this next step is optional, but I actually purchased this rubber sheet made for the bottoms of shoes. One side is smooth and the other side has an actual tread on it. So I just traced out the sole of the slide, cut it out, and glued it to the bottom. I wanted to give these a try outdoors, which is why I added this piece to make it a bit more durable. And just like that, we have a finished pair of thing slides inspired by the Fantastic Four. Thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like I have to put this disclaimer, but I really want to stress that unless you're a professional shoemaker, I really don't recommend wearing these long term. It's fun to wear around the house or for a quick photo, but realistically, they're not meant to last like real slides are. I really had a fun time making these, and I think you guys will have a lot of fun too. I hope you guys give it a try, and if you share photos on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, feel free to tag me. I would love to see your work. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.